for sticking with us. Asante sana for all the feedback that we are receiving, and we hope that you are enjoying our programming right here on K24 this morning. Welcome to Health and Wellness with me, Shiko Kaitani. Remember, our social media platforms are still the same. At K24 TV is how you can reach us. That WhatsApp number is at the bottom of your screen should you wish to contribute to our ongoing discussions. Now, it's said that drug abuse is one of the biggest problems confronting Kenya, especially among the youth. Now, one study revealed that majority of drug users start to use at their youthful age between 15 to 30. Another report indicates that children as young as 12 are not just users, but are even being used to transport drugs across borders and international waters. The incidences of drug and alcohol abuse will shock you. Now, this is a matter of concern to the government, to parents, teachers, and relevant agencies. On the show today, we discuss the factors influencing drug abuse with a special focus on our coastal corridor that is the most affected in Kenya. Now, as we start the particular conversation, keep in mind, coincidentally, the front page of today's People Daily is actually centered on what we're talking about, as it says horror of city teen sex and drugs ring. And here it is. You can even see it on your screen right there. We'll be jumping into that in just a moment and even just discussing what's ongoing. But I want to welcome my guests today. I'm going to start off with Mr. Hussein Taib. He is the head of advocacy at Mewa Harm Reduction Programs. Welcome to the program, Bwana Hussein.
Thank you.
We also do have Priscilla Mora, who is a recovered drug addict, here to share her story and how she managed to turn her life around. We'll listen to her, get some of those tips and even some encouragement as far as those people who are battling with drug addiction. Mofat Mutero also joins us. He is the chairperson of Mashinani Watch Organization. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to start off with you, perhaps, Mofat, with even the question that we have for our audience today, which is what are the factors influencing drug abuse among the youth? If my director can even put that up, as we share that with the audience, why don't you start by telling us that? What are some of these factors?
One, Shiko, one of the factors that make you to enter into drug abuse, and we have seen it in Coast Region particularly.
Yeah.
One is what we call peer influence amongst the youth, and this one happens or starts from school.
Yeah.
We have seen some of the researches and some of the reports whereby children get excess pocket money.
Yeah.
Those students also have got problems at their homes. Sometimes it is a kind of esteem. Others got maybe the parenting.
Yeah.
Also, maybe you see children like imitating. So what they see others doing, that is what they do. Another
so poor
thing,
parenting.
Poor parenting.
Well. Yeah.
And still on that, there is also the role models. If you see a role model doing something, you want to copy it. So we have role models who abuse drugs, who do funny things.
Yeah. So
this youth will automatically copy what they are saying.
Okay.
The other one is, I think, also another thing is availability and access. When you see beer there or when you see cocaine there, you will automatically get it.
Yeah.
But if it's not within your premises, where do you get it?
Okay. And before we get to hear your story, Priscilla, let me just turn to Mr. Hussein for a second. What is really plaguing the coast, Bwana Hussein? What is aiding the drug, trade there and the uptake of drugs down at the coast that we don't really understand?
Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In short, actually, the porous borders, the port, has been the most important inlet for drug use. And another thing was during the during the 80s and the 90s when we had flourishing in the tourist business.
Yeah.
So most of the tourists were coming and the flights that were coming in and out were the source of transit points. So Mombasa was actually a transit point initially, and slowly the drugs started flowing into the local market, and now we see where we are.
Yeah.
Ignorance is another issue.
Yeah.
The knowledge, mostly among young people, the effects of drugs, the seriousness of addiction, they are not aware of this. So, especially for something like heroin,
yeah.
you can be hooked by heroin by using 2 to 3 times. Once you use heroin once or twice, sometimes without your knowledge, then you just get yourself into the trap.
Right.
Additionally, is availability comes with the porous borders. Another thing is tolerance. Yes, tolerance among the communities. Initially, when people were smoking bangi, there came a time when they say that they changed the name from bangi to tobacco, and I say malete tumbako, so that for making actually making those the wordings makes it quite catchy for the youth.
Okay. Priscilla, thank you for being brave enough to want to share your story with us. How long have you been clean?
I've been clean since 2016. That's 4 years now. 4 years and months, yes.
How did you end up getting influenced into doing drugs, and what were you actually hooked on?
Yes, what influenced me to drugs, I think I was in a relationship with a guy who was using drugs. I didn't know. So for about 4 years or 5 years, I was with this man, who was my boyfriend. So I became like addicted to him because I didn't know whatever you are using, because he used to drink and smoke weed.
Yeah.
His weed, he was mixing with heroin. I didn't know. So I used to share with the weed with him. So for some time, the relationship became abusive.
Yeah.
So I was like addicted to him and to the heroin because I couldn't leave him, although he used to beat me, mistreated me. So when a fellow friend came to me and said, you know what, Mora, why don't you leave this guy the way he's treating you? I said, I cannot, because the weed he gives me makes me feel good.
Yeah.
She told me, that's not the weed, that's heroin, that's unga.
Oh my God.
So at that time I didn't know where to get unga.
Yeah.
Because
this time you're already hooked.
Yes, I was.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So I didn't know how or where to get it. This lady showed me, took me to that place, and she told me, Mora, you can have heroin from here. So that time I didn't even know the price. I used to get it, by the time 1996, it was like 150, but I used to buy it at 500.
Right.
Because I didn't know the price. After some time, I broke up with this man, but I was already pregnant with
his child.
This child.
Yeah.
So in 1999, I gave birth to this daughter. And I left him completely. I never to turn back to him again.
Yeah.
So my life was, now I knew where to get it. With my pregnancy, I went back to my mother's place, to my parents' home. So I stayed there, and I was still using.
Yeah.
Whatever I had with me at that time while I was staying with this man, I had my own room.
Yeah.
I was depending on myself. I sold everything. So I started stealing from my mother's, my sisters, my fathers from home.
Yes, just to fund your addiction.
Yeah. So after some time, they knew that there's something wrong with me. You know, my parents at that time, they didn't know about drugs.
Yeah.
So they thought I was maybe bewitched. So they could tell me, go to hospital, even to witch doctors.
What?
I was taken to prayers.
Yeah.
But they didn't know about my addiction. They did not know anything about addiction.
I'm wondering what your state of mind is at this particular time. You could not function without it at all. And how would your withdrawals be should you attempt to not even use for a day?
It was severe because, you know, with withdrawals, you cannot stand the withdrawals.
Yeah.
Because you're having stomachache. Maybe sometimes you're going to every time to the toilet, diarrhea. Yeah. And your body you feel pain all over your body, and you feel like Marella.
Wow.
So it was so painful.
Okay. Let's rope in our audience at this particular point. Remember, we do have that question of the day, and it's a very simple one. Give us your thoughts on this, because we're asking what you think are the factors that are influencing drug abuse amongst the youth. This brings me to a point that you brought up, Mofat, when we talked about peer pressure earlier on and curiosity. Look at this headline: horror of city teen and drug ring. Yeah. 44 teenagers in one house, obviously, who have been caught with drinks, who've been caught with marijuana and all sorts of things. Yes. But the question is, even as a parent, how do you go about this delicate balance of allowing your teenager to still enjoy life, but to know the boundaries before they end up becoming an addict.
You see, Shiko, what I can tell you from experience,
Yeah.
Things have changed. This generation we have is not the generation we used to have. I've seen 14 years, 15 years, 17 years.
Yeah.
Where were you at 14 years?
There was nowhere I was going, yeah.
If a child or a teenage can come all the way from Machakos, all the way from Lower Kabete,
Yes.
and come into a house and have that, where is the parent?
Yeah.
Did he even question where is the child? So those are some of the things they are learning from somewhere.
Yeah.
And again, we are, as parents, we are too much busy. Someone goes to Kongoya in the morning, comes back in the evening at around maybe 8. You are tired.
Yeah.
You just cook and sleep. And maybe the food you are eating is the same child who cooked.
Yeah.
So we don't have time to talk to. And again, nowadays, Shiko, you can bear me witness. In our times, we used to be beaten. You beaten one,
Yeah.
you cannot repeat that mistake. Nowadays, if you engage in beating these children, they become radicals. So they need to be talked to.
Yeah.
When do you start talking to this child? At the age of 14?
Yeah.
At the age of 15?
That's too late.
You start,
Yeah.
kwa Kiswahili twasema, samaki ukunjwa ngali mbichi. The issue is we have failed as parents.
Right.
We have, I don't know whether it's life which has become too hard that we are concentrating so much on incomes, but we are forgetting the income we are looking for is for these children.
Right.
That is why you see most of the parents at the age of 50, they have blood pressure.
Yeah.
Because how will you feel at your child of 14 years, 12 years
Yeah.
is in a ghetto, in a certain place in Nairobi, a place in Kongoya or a place Malindi,
Yeah.
with adults, used condoms.
Wow.
My friend, where did you hear this from?
It's true. It's
So
very true.
it's a very tricky issue, and I can only say,
Okay.
sometimes when problems strike you, you don't complain so much. You own the mistake.
You own.
We must swallow that bit of pill. We
Yes.
still have time to recorrect everything, and that everything is attached on 3 things. One,
Yeah.
we know where do we get these things from.
Okay.
Secondly, how do we rehabilitate and treat these people who have been affected, particularly the youth?
Yeah.
After rehabilitation and treatment, where do you take them?
What's next? Okay,
Yeah.
we'll get to that in just a moment. And Bwana Hussein, I'm coming to you in just a moment, but I want to see what Kenyans have to say about this particular discussion that we have today on drugs and substance abuse. And we've been asking you what factors are influencing drug abuse amongst the youth today. Going to WhatsApp very quickly, let's take a look at what we have. Hi, I am Son Kelo from Zimmerman. I'm 16 years old. To keep myself and my friends away from drugs, we have made our group by the name Young Rhymes. We make songs and add them to our YouTube channel. Okay, well, thank you so much for that. And congratulations for the effort. Bravo, bravo. I am Evans. I do drugs because I have nothing to do making me busy. This makes me smoke and chew mira. No support from my parents. Wow. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Do we have another one? Hello, Shiko. Drug abuse, especially in Mombasa, most parents don't have enough knowledge and courage to guide their kids once they get themselves into such a situation. Once they get into peer pressure, addiction starts. Regards to Mofat, I'm Slim from Mombasa. Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. Some points already being highlighted here. And Hussein, you've seen a point there. Someone has actually brought up something that you mentioned before, which is ignorance in our society. But you've come with something in studio, and these are paraphernalias, right, that you have in a box. And I like the fact that you brought this because now you're showing us what's hot, what's happening on the ground. So, I mean, we can have that split screen. You can also lift up some of this stuff. Tell us, what are these commonly consumed drugs? Tell us a little bit about this paraphernalia that you've even brought to studio.
Thank you. There are actually a lot of drugs that are being abused in Mombasa and everywhere in the world, in Kenya, in short. In short, what we are having here is injecting paraphernalias. Injecting paraphernalias, these are given to heroin users. People who using heroin through injection. Before starting these programs, the HIV rate was very high.
Yeah.
The HIV prevalence rate of HIV for people who use drugs is 18% against the national prevalence rate of 5.6.
Yeah.
And for, right now it has gone down. When you started our work almost 2 decades ago, the HIV prevalence among injecting drug users was 60%.
Yeah.
60% of injected drug users were heroin users were actually HIV positive.
Yeah.
And through hard work and evidence base, we managed to understand it is because they were sharing injection. And with or without us, without us giving them the syringes, they would still go and use drugs using injection. We had incidents of people going to hospitals in the bins, collecting used syringes and inject themselves. So what has come up, this is a best practice. It is being used in a number of countries worldwide.
Yeah.
And from the time we actually started giving them the syringes, we have seen a drastic reduction in HIV and hepatitis among injecting drug users.
Yeah.
So our curve has really been flattened. Right now, as I was pick, the HIV rate is quite low compared to where we started. So these are injecting, we have syringes here, we have cotton swabs, and we have water for injection. So this is a complete set, and cotton buds, this is a complete set of items that we normally give to them through outreach or through our static drop-in centers where they come and get them. So this is what we're actually doing. It has really helped a lot.
Okay.
Otherwise, we would have been talking about different things right now.
Yeah, and so when you decided to do this very drastic approach towards your help or your treatment program or rehabilitation program, were you getting resistance? Because you're literally dishing out something that's aiding them.
Yeah, as I earlier said, with or without us giving them the syringes, they're still going to use.
Yeah.
So this is where the catch is.
Yeah.
So what we did is, actually harm reduction, this is a WHO intervention. It's a worldwide program that is being used in a couple of countries.
Yeah.
Kenya's taken a lead in Africa, and we are amongst the leading when it comes to harm reduction intervention or programs. So what happened is, we got to learn from elsewhere, but this was working, and we started it roughly 7 years ago.
Right.
Harm reduction intervention began almost since the 80s. These programs have been were put in place. There are countries that have been using harm reduction interventions, and right now they are talking about different things. And the components of harm reduction intervention has to do with NSP, that is needle and syringes.
Yeah.
There is medical assisted therapy, that is either methadone or buprenorphine. And we have HTS testing. These are components of about 10 things that we normally provide to drug users.
Okay.
So, yes.
All right. Thanks a lot for that. Priscilla, just even going back to your story, how was the response by your community, by your friends, when you came out and actually said, I am addicted to heroin? First of all, you're a Muslim lady. Yes. How was that even received?
It was with a lot of stigma.
I can imagine.
Because my father was a prison officer, my mother was also a prison officer. So we used to stay in the camp, the prison's camp. My father was very shameful, because he was saying, Mora, you know you are my daughter. My father loved me so much. So he felt so bad that I was doing what he didn't know what I was doing. He even he could try and ask me, what do you want? You know, do you take beer or cigar? I buy you, instead of you running around like a madman, mad woman. So my friends thought I was crazy. Yeah. Because the way I was addicted, I used to have good life. I had my own dreams, but all were shattered. So when they knew that I was addicted now, some called me Mwandazimu, amechizi. Yeah. Because you change. Obviously you change. The way you dress, your hair,
hygiene is out the window.
So they thought I was crazy.
Yeah. I want to ask our audiences to please engage us, especially if you can call in. If you are someone also living down at the coast, why don't you also tell us what the situation is even where you are and what you're witnessing? We have a special focus on the coastal region today because it is the most affected in Kenya. What I love about Hussein, Priscilla and Moffat is that, believe it or not, they have come all the way from Mombasa to be with us today to talk about drugs and substance abuse, which is affecting, consuming our youth, if you will. And so as Priscilla is sharing her story, if you also do know or have a loved one who needs the assistance that they need, why don't you call in, talk to us, ask the questions that you need so that we may even pass it to our panels. Let's get to something that's very important. The Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Control Amendment Bill 2019. Now, Section 4 of this that I was reading is about the penalty for trafficking in narcotic drugs. Listen to this. Any person who traffics or has in his or her possession any narcotic drug or psychotropic substance or any substance represented or held out by him to be a narcotic drug has or will be facing a fine not less than 50 million Kenya shillings or 3 times the value of the drug in the market, and imprisonment for having slightly over 100 grams or more of the said substance. Moffat, my question is, do you think that punishment is going to curb drug abuse and trafficking? It sounds counterintuitive that fine, you are imprisoning someone or fining them 50 million Kenya shillings, but are we tackling the real issue, which is, why is this person doing drugs? Why is this person trafficking?
Shiko, if I answer you on that, I've gone through that amendment bill of 2019.
Yeah.
And the way it was drafted, maybe the person who drafted, maybe he is also a human being.
You're right.
But again, the issue of drug trafficking and usage, you cannot cover it within 4-5 pages. Because when you're mentioning about trafficking, you're also mentioning about user. Whatever you're trafficking is being used. So the bill is not giving us the boundary between the trafficker and the user. A user, you have seen in the bill, it mentions about 1 gram. 1 gram is packets, 12 packets of something called kete, kwa Kiswahili. Ni kete 12. So this person already having 12 packets, which is equivalent to 1 gram, it means this person is a user. So someone who brings kilograms of heroin and someone who has got 1 gram, those are 2 different people.
Right.
That's a baron, a trafficker, and the other one is a user.
Yeah.
So this bill needs to include a lot of things, particularly after jailing the drug baron or the trafficker. What do you do to the user? Do you punish him? No.
Right.
You treat and rehabilitate.
Right.
After rehabilitation, where do you take that user? You show, you have to take him somewhere, at least he can do something.
Yeah.
Because initially when we started, we talked about idleness. When the brain is idle, it thinks about many things.
I mean, look at the guy who just messaged and said, I have nothing to do.
People are speaking about engagement. So, in my opinion, I am not opposing the bill.
Right.
I'm only opposing the component. It is not inclusive. It lacks some other important components like issue of rehabilitation.
Right.
It is not there. It is not also speaking about the welfare of those who have been rehabilitated. So he tried, but again, this bill is in first reading.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Moffat, I want to stop you there for a second. I want us to take a short commercial break. We're going to get back and get more of your thoughts on this. And even rope in Hussein and Priscilla as well as to what they feel about this particular bill. Keep talking to us. Remember our question of the day, which is all about the factors that you think are influencing drug abuse amongst the youth today. At K24 TV, yet again, is how you can reach us. That WhatsApp number is at the bottom of your screen. And should you wish to call, Karibu Sana, we would love to hear your voice on this discussion. Stick with us.
Your nights will never be the same.